So apparently 16% of you, which is like nearly 2,000 people, think Karma Cut should be banned. What the hell is wrong with you? It is Banlist season, and you know what that means? Every content creator under the sun has to give their opinions as to what could be hit on the next list. Now, if we go by last year, February 2020, the Banlist was announced on the 28th, which was the same day the main box Judgment Force was announced, and we all know that main box was insane, so hopefully Konami can kind of, replicate that this year. It'd be pretty cool to have a very good main box to start off the year on a high, but the list didn't come into effect until March 24th, so almost a month later, but the list was pretty impactful. We had Grass to 1 to Playmaker's Dismay, we had Eggshell, Orochi, Spectral Sword, and Tame Elder to 2, Palace and Cosmic to 3, and Wiz to Unlimited, so it wasn't a small list by any means. Now, does that mean this list will be the same? No, we had a very big list back in November, I think it was, that was kind of ridiculous how big that one was, but I think we're going to dive right in with the most unexpected ban ever, completely forbidden, Head Judging. I do not like this card. I feel like this card is a problem card for Duel Links. It's not fair at all. The fact you can just flip this face up and be like, you know what, you're to take a 50-50 shot at whether your turn is over. That's what it says. It's not like you're setting a face-down Divine Wrath and having to discard a card and then negating the monster effect. You're just saying, hey, leave it to chance, you know, it might happen, it might not. If you want to play around it, you know, better open your Cosmic. Like, I know that's the same for things like Karma Card, but Head Judging just feels so much worse when, you know, your opponent is a Desperado player or any player, and they open it, they just set it face down, and then you just haven't got fun for your entire duel. So I feel like this card is long deserved to be forbidden, and if Konami doesn't do it, then they could put it to 2, which would then join Cup of Ace, which I think would kill the card because Desperado would, you know, value that draw 2, that draw 4, way more than a potential negate, which they can have from Misjudge. So I feel like that's the kind of the thing, is that Head Judging will be hit, but will it go entirely, or will it be limit 2? We don't know. Now, Konami should also do something about Quarantine, because that card is, right now at least, very impactful. The fact you could just normal summon a card that says no to Blue Eyes, Noble Knights, Galaxy Eyes, Heretics, the Stick Chair guys, literally every deck, apart from Desperado, is light. And that's kind of a big sticking point, you know. It's again a big fuck you to anyone trying to play against Desperado, which already is a kind of a not fun time, but Quarantine is what, like, in an ideal world, they would go Head Judging, Quarantine, and Cup of Ace to 2, so all of them at 2, and then that would kill out both those cards because you'd want to play the Cup of Ace because the draw power is very good. Now, I do think they will also hit the skill, we'll talk about that later in the video, but for now I think that is kind of where I'm at with Desperado, and that to me feels fair enough for a hit after the deck inadvertently, after last list kind of killed everything else. It just rose and became the best deck, so at least right now it's tier 2-ish I think, but has a very good matchup against literally every other tier 1 deck, so Konami needs to do something about that one, I think. Then, moving on to another top tier deck, we have Noble Knight Boars, which I'm not the biggest Noble Knight guy, I'm not too up to date on how the deck plays entirely, but I know this card's pretty important. It's run currently at 2 or 3 in literally every build. You're playing Balanced build, you're playing 3, and this is one of the main cards I believe you go into. I think you summon out your Dristan, I think it is, and then you go into him, and then you search out for 3 equipped spells, you choose one, you play it, you then have materials on board to go into your Exceed summon in your opponent's turn, and then you start popping things, and honestly, Noble Knights right now, I feel like the problem card really in that deck is something like the Trap card. It's really, really good, and I feel like even Noble Knight players know that it's too good for Duel Links, but I feel like Konami will do what they usually do, and they'll be like, you know what, we're not going to hit the newest thing first, we're going to hit some of the older support cards, and then see what happens, and then we'll see what happens. But hitting Boars to 2 would then also make it so the deck can't play things like Treacherous Trap Hole or Hatronade, which we have seen play in those decks. We are seeing them see play. So depends if you value the OTK more than the control, which is obviously what the Treacherous would do, but putting it to 2 would again kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And of course, then you could then say, well, won't Noble Knights just play Karma Cut instead? And yeah, they probably would do. So what happens to Karma Cut? Well, I really don't want to put it at 2, but I feel like if Konami is doing anything to it, it's going to 2. I think the card is fine at 3, staying as is. It's a necessary evil for the current metagame, really, but the problem people have with it isn't that it exists, it's because the decks that are currently abusing it get so much more value out of it than just a normal rogue deck, which it's a very good card for rogue decks because otherwise they can't really compete. But if you're playing Noble Knights, Desperado, or Blue Eyes, then you have tons of ways to get value out the card. Do you put a Merlin in the graveyard? Do you put a Trap card in the graveyard? Do you put a White in the graveyard? Do you put whatever Desperado likes being in the graveyard? Like, it just gets so much more value with those decks, which is why it's really, really good right now. But it's a card that's kind of necessary for the current metagame. It's a byproduct of how the metagame currently is, so it kind of needs to stay at 3, but I feel like Konami will put it to 2 because they'll bend the knee to the community and see what's happening on ranked. Like, it's the top play trap card probably at the moment, so I could see it. Now, would Jules hit Blue Eyes at the same time? I kind of think they won't because new structure just came out. I feel like they want to keep that around, even though it's mostly reprints being the driving force behind that deck. So it's a real tough one. Do you put Sage to 2? Do you put Whitestone to 2? I don't think you do either of them. I think you just keep it as it is and maybe touch the skill, the Ultimate Dragon skill a little bit. We'll talk about that at the end. But I very much like Karma Cut. I think it should stay, and that's, if Konami put it to 2, that's what they do. Me personally, I just keep it as is. And for our final limit 2, we have Onomats Sister. So Onomats do need something to happen to them. Either the skill's going to be hit or they're going to get some form of hit. And Sister is already a 2 of in most decks, but this just gets around the double, the double Hatronade. If Konami came out and said, hey, we're just banning Hatronade, would anyone really, be surprised at that? I don't think they would. The card is just so good for just blowing out your opponent. And with Sister to 2, which is a 2 of or a 1 of, you then still give Onomats the option of saying, do you play 2 of this card, but you can't then go into the level 6s, the rank 6 diseases, or do you say you play 1 of each, 1 of 1? It's a tough decision, but I feel like that's a pretty safe hit. And again, the skill will probably be nerfed as well. We'll talk about that one at the end. But now on to limit 3s. And Thunder Dragons are going to have something done to them. Konami don't really like Thunder Dragons and the Lightsworn engine, so I feel like that they will do the least damage right now. And they'll put both Thunder Dragon Raw and Dark to limit 3. They're both free to play from Dark Dimensions Mokuba, so that's fine. There's no, monetary loss there. But it's increasingly seeing more and more play, and especially as we get more powerful generic seizes, its turn 1 board is getting better and better and better. And this limit will keep the deck around, but if they decided to, say, put a Thunder Dragon to 2 alongside Charge, then I think the deck becomes harder to keep around because the deck does currently rely on Charge to get a lot of its plays off. So I wonder what they'll do. I feel like it will limit 3, but if they really want to be like, what, we're fed up with Thunder Dragons, even though Levine just came out in January, beginning of January for everyone, maybe they'll be like, okay, we'll try and nuke it. Like, I don't know. This is a real tough one, and if they do nuke it, then it becomes even harder for Konami to keep people investing in the Dark Dimension, because that box now would then have Thunder Dragons here, and it would have Invoked here, which then makes the deck, the box pretty much, do you want Necro Valley? Is it worth going 200 packs deep for Necro Valley? For some people, maybe. Then we'll have Rose Lava come back to 3. It's the only card I'm saying is going to come back, and I feel like they'll put it to limit 3 rather than limited, because they'll just kind of want to keep it there, kind of like the similar list in TCG, where they do put cards there as they're trying to work out if it can come back to 3, which most of the time it can do. But we've seen we're getting a Plant Xyz, or we should be getting a Plant Xyz, in the new main box or a mini box at some point soon, and I feel like because of that, we're going to see Rikas in Duel Links very soon, and they won't get in TCG, nor do I think they can be good in Duel Links, but anything that can help them, giving them a buff, would be quite nice. And the deck does revolve around tribute summoning, so if you can special summon out Eureka from hand and tribute over it, then that does work quite nicely. It's in a Siege deck as well, so you do have a ton of, a ton of synergy there. And Limit 3 also then stops any potential abuse with Cosmic Cyclone, but is that going to happen? Not really. So I feel like Rose Lover coming back would be a very good thing, and especially since we are in a very trap-heavy metagame, that it would be kind of appreciated for those rogue players to not have to worry about a Karma Cut ruining their day if it doesn't get hit to 2. So, yeah. Now, there are a few other decks that could see hits on them, but I don't think they will. Dark Lords, I believe, topped KC Cut with a Stick Chair variant, and I didn't see this one time in the event. Maybe it was stage 2 only that it was doing really well in, but whatever it was, it probably isn't super prevalent on the ladder right now, so it probably won't be considered problematic by Konami. So I kind of feel like they'll just do something like the opposite and be like, you know what, we'll actually buff Dark Lords, we'll make them even better, we'll give them Eggshell back and it'll be fine. Could they? Sure. But I don't really see them doing that. I think they might shuffle around some of the limits, like maybe put the trap card and the spell card and kind of flip them around on the head, but they won't hit the Stick Chair engine either. It's way too new and has yet to really show its potential, so I feel like they're not going to do that. Same with Water. The Water deck with Shark Skill is getting more and more popular with Duel, with the Atlanteans, and I don't think it's there yet. I don't think it's to the point where it needs to be hit, because it really has one main play that's just, hey, if your opponent does something in the graveyard, you get a pop. Like, sure, it's good against Blue Eyes and, and Noble Knights a little bit, but is it really worth hitting? Probably not. And then we come to the skill changes, which I think are the ones that people kind of expect. Of course, Martial Destiny, getting hit once again, and either it will be you either need more cards in your deck to activate a skill, or you reduce the number of guaranteed heads you get in a duel, which I believe currently is at 3. So if you put it to 2, then you kind of guarantee 1 activation or 2 activations of your Cup of Ace, but you don't guarantee anything else. So you then have to say, is the guaranteed effect negate more important than an extra draw 2? Probably is. So right now there's no real risk / reward in the current, in getting to its optimal board state, which is kind of how the whole point of the deck is meant to be. Coin flip decks are meant to have some risk in it, but the current skill makes it so there's no real risk in getting to that main end board. So giving it a hit again would be pretty big. Same with Onomats play. Now, I don't want this to be hit. I think it's a bit too early for them to hit it, but it's just like, Onomats are getting so good at getting into a very good turn 1 board. Do you then say, hey, we'll put a life point restriction on it, so maybe you can only activate after you lose 1500 life points? Do we do that? Do we put a turn limit on it to say you can't use it on your first turn, so turn 3 onwards? Do you do that so you kind of use it as a comeback skill, which I feel like the anime skills really should be? Or do you go and nerf it into oblivion and say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make it only switch out 1 card, which would be a lot fairer, but then would be kind of against the theme of the skill, I think. So I really don't know what they'll do on that one. And finally, Ultimate Dragons. It's the main skill to use for Kaiba now for Blue Eyes, and I guess moving the goalposts for the activation to turn 5 onwards would definitely be a pretty big hit to it without hitting anything in the main deck. So I feel like if there's no main deck hit, you're getting a skill hit. If not, then Konami just like, yeah, we like our money. We're enjoying the money right now, so they won't hit it. But that is my kind of all over the place Forbidden Unlimited list predictions video. Obviously, there's a lot of what ifs and maybes, but I feel like that's better than me going out and saying, you know what, this is going to be to this and this is going to be to that. So I thought, you know what, we'll have a discussion about it and see what you guys think down below. But that is all for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next Duel Links video. See you then.